Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Faith Moments with Dina Marie. And, in this summer season, we're excited that we can get together in many different creative ways to be with family and friends and to focus on the gift of our faith. And I'm excited today to include in this conversation a conversation that if you've listened to Catholic radio, watched television on Catholic EWTN, you're familiar with Steve Ray, a Catholic convert, and has really been a great advocate to the truth and the beauty of our Catholic faith. And so today we want to share a little bit about living, loving, and defending our faith. That's actually the theme of an online retreat that you all can take part in wherever you are, Michigan, Oregon, BC, Vancouver, or anywhere in the world. The Sisters at Our Lady of Peace want you to come to this retreat in July, and we're going to share a little bit of why this is so important. Steve Ray, thanks for being with me today.
You're welcome. Very glad to be with you. Technology is amazing. I was going to board a plane and fly out to Oregon.
Yeah.
But because of the whole virus scare, we're going to do it now by Zoom, which enables actually a whole lot more people to join us than would have originally been able to. When you're in a physical location, you get 100, 200 max. But now thousands can join us.
I think that's really one of the exciting things about having online, these virtual retreats, gatherings. And over the last 3 months or so, all of us have had to watch masses online, be able to communicate with many of our family members who aren't close to us online. You used to be taking pilgrims to the Holy Land. That's ceased for now. But Steve Ray, for you, how has online faith opportunities helped you, your family, to stay really focused and grounded?
Well, our life is very public. We do a lot of conferences and pilgrimages and so on, but I've been doing a lot of conferences, radio shows, interviews from Australia, the Philippines. Saturday, I'm going to be doing a big one in the Philippines, and I've got them set up now every week in Australia because they really are hungry to talk about the Bible and the Catholic faith down there. And so it's been a good outlet for us to keep things rolling and keep them moving. And we'll be back in the air soon. We got a trip leaving for Israel on July 29, and we already have almost a full bus sold out. So as long as Israel opens their borders, I'll be the first ones back. But this technology is marvelous, and we are exploiting it to the best we can.
And we do. We need to be able to take advantage of this to bring a message of hope. I think people really need to hear a message of hope these days. There's a lot of sense of a fear or a wonder about the future, but as Christians, we know the future, don't we, Steve?
Well, if you read the book of Revelation, you get the end of the story, we know we win.
Amen.
No, that's true. I think that everybody else is keeping their eyes on their physical well-being and on the country, and all of those are very important, of course. But as a Christian, I realize that my main prior citizenship is not in this world. My citizenship is in heaven. In fact, if somebody comes up and asks me, what are you? They mean, what do I do for a living? Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, well, I'm a Catholic. And they said, well, what do you mean? Oh, I didn't mean what your religion is. What are you? And I said, well, I'm a Catholic and I'm a father and a husband. Well, what do you do for, I said, you mean, what do I do for a living? Oh, what do I do to make money? That's something very different. That's not who I am. That's what I do. But I make sure people realize that first and primary, like St. Paul, my citizenship is in heaven. And that's where we need to keep our eyes primarily. And that will then inform how we live our life in the daily world.
Absolutely. I'm talking with Steve Ray, and he'll be joining us by Zoom at Our Lady of Peace's wonderful online retreat. And Steve, I'm just going to share my screen here with you and with our audience because I want them to know that when you go online, you're going to see this registration form to come, and you can be in your own home, you can be with your family to take part in 4 days of a beautiful retreat, and all the information is going to be available online at olpretreat.org. So I want people to check this out as we're talking and we're sharing today. But because we've had so many changes with using technology for mass, for other ways of prayer, communication, looking at this retreat in July, it's the 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th, what would you say would be really important reasons why people should make a commitment to go ahead and join us in this online education of Catholic faith?
Well, St. Paul says we should have a renewing of the mind. We should think on things above, whatever is beautiful, whatever is holy, whatever is delightful. These things that we should meditate on. And most of us are stuck in the world every day, and we get tainted by it. Um, we get affected by it. Let's put it that way. And you can't walk through a smoky room without smelling like smoke. And if you are walking through the world, you end up picking up some of it. That's why Jesus said to his disciples in John 13, you've all been bathed, but I still need to wash your feet because you've been out walking around. Well, I think this conference, what we're doing is one of those ways to take a good bath, a good shower. It's a good way to refocus our minds and our hearts on what's really important. And a lot of the governors, I'm sad to say, and a lot of the politicians over the last few months have given the impression that Christianity and churches are non-essential. You can go to the liquor store, you can go get an abortion, you can go grocery shopping and bump shoulders with people there. But churches, no, these are non-essential, and we're going to keep them closed. But for us, we know that ultimately the church and the Eucharist and our life in Christ is more essential than anything else in the long run, in the big picture. So what we're going to do on this weekend is we're going to focus on what's really important in life. And I have 4 talks, and I'll just mention the first one first. It's on defending the Eucharist. And why do I say defending? As if the Eucharist can't defend itself. But what I mean by that is in 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 15, Peter says that if anyone comes and asks you why the hope, what is the hope you have? Why are you living the way, even in persecution, why are you living full of hope? He says, be ready to give an answer or a defense. That word is apologia in Greek, from which we get the word apologist. Since becoming a Catholic, I used to be a Baptist, and I would have loved to come back then, Dina Marie, because I'd have tried to get you all saved. But now that I'm a Catholic, I am an apologist, or one who helps explain and defend the faith. And that's what we're going to do with the Eucharist first. I used to believe that it was just crackers and grape juice. Nothing happened. We didn't even have an altar in our churches. We only did it 4 times a year. Didn't do anything. We only did it because Jesus told us to. That's the only reason. And it helped us to remember that he died for us. But when I became Catholic, I realized that there's the real presence of Christ there in that Eucharist. He's come down from heaven in a special way. It's not a new sacrifice or another sacrifice. We're not crucifying Christ and making new sacrifices of him. There is one eternal sacrifice that he gave in Jerusalem 2,000 years ago, and that is ever before the eyes of the Father. And at the Eucharist, what happens is that one eternal sacrifice is made present again for us. It's represented for us on the altar, kind of like the sun when it comes up every morning. It's not a new sun. We didn't just have a new sun born. That's the same sun, but every day it represents itself to us because we need the sun, and we need the S-O-N, sun, as well. So I'm going to explain, how did a Baptist kid who was convinced that the Eucharist was idolatry, you Catholics worship a piece of bread? How idolatrous and stupid is that? But I'm going to explain how did I come, my wife and I, over a period of time, to understand the Catholic teaching of the Eucharist and why it's the greatest gift that God's given to his church, and why it is very essential, and why it's so necessary, and it's the source and summit of our faith, and it's the highest form of prayer that we Catholics can offer to God in union with each other and the priest and the church. So I'm going to give an hour talk, if they'll let me talk that long. I don't know if Zoom will let me do that, but and it's one of my favorite talks to give. And I hope that by the end, people will have a much different understanding of the Eucharist, and Catholics who think they know it all already may hear it different from a Catholic convert who is I'm going to start off with what I used to believe, and then I'm going to argue with myself and show how we came to this side. And then I'm going to give Catholics some ammunition, so to speak, as to how to defend their faith and how to love it all the more. That's the first talk.
That's just the first talk, folks. And so I'm just so excited. I'm going to show people the flyer of just a little bit of what you're going to experience, because Steve Ray is going to be joining our friend from British Columbia, Father John Horgan, and 2 local speakers, Rolando Moreno and Julian Durka, will be giving some afternoon reflections. But just in that talk, you are going to be so full of really listening and really deciding, why am I why am I Christian? Why do I love Jesus Christ? And let's stand upon that faith. It's the Institute in Catholic Teaching gone virtual this year, done by Our Lady of Peace Retreat. And Steve Ray is going to be giving us the Monday and Tuesday talks. And then Father John will continue throughout the week, the 13th through the 16th. Folks can actually register. And Steve, what's wonderful about this, and I think what's the hospitality and the gift of the sisters, is they're making this free. So typically there would be a fee, obviously, because people would be staying overnight, they'd be eating meals, and they would be using the facilities there, but they're making this free. Now, the retreat house doesn't run for free. There are expenses to run the retreat house. And for all the sisters who live in the convent, they just know that God's going to provide. They know that they want this retreat to go on. They want as many people to hear from you, Father John Horgan, to come together in prayer and to know that we need to stand upon our faith in Jesus Christ. And this is so beautiful. So I want to encourage people to sign up and register today. But Steve, I can't let you leave without talking a little bit about Our Lady, because you are going to have two parts really to reflect upon our Blessed Mother and some key elements about her that should be really of importance to us as Christians.
The last talk I'm going to give is called Swimming Upstream, about how to live the Catholic life in a new pagan world, which is really what we've become. We Christians have become a despised subculture. And if you don't think so, just ask yourself how free you feel to go out and tell people you're a Catholic and pro-life, because you know you're going to be shut down no matter where you go. So I'm going to talk about how to live that way proudly. But back to the middle two talks, Mary Part 1 and Mary Part 2. The talk is entitled Mary, Real Girl and Woman of Mystery. It's like a coin. Every coin has two sides. Mary has two sides as well. One side is the girl, 15-year-old, that raised in Nazareth, who walked on dusty paths, who had flies buzzing around her head. She was walking with animals and goats and sheep every time she went to Jerusalem for every year, at least for the Passover meal and back, she'd have to go. And I lived on a farm, Dina Marie, and I know what it's like on a farm, the flies, the manure. And this is when you're walking on the way to Jerusalem and back, maybe with 100 camels and all. It's not what people think Mary's life was. What I'm going to do is walk you through her whole life, starting when she was born in Jerusalem, what the circumstances of her birth were, that we know from a document from the second century called Proto-Evangelium of James. It's the document where we get the names Joachim and Anna, because those aren't in the Bible. That's in this document. And I'm going to take you through the way I like to organize this. The 2 hours on Mary is geographical. We're going to start where she is born in Jerusalem. Then we're going to go to Nazareth, where she lived until the angel spoke to her. Then we're going to go down to Ein Kerem, which is a subdivision of Jerusalem, which is where Elizabeth lived. People don't realize Mary walked 90 miles. They think when you read in Luke's gospel that she went to visit Elizabeth, you think she jumped in a taxi, went across town and jumped out, paid the few shekels and went in and saw Elizabeth. But this was a 90-mile walk for a 15-year-old girl who's newly pregnant. And then 3 months later, she has to walk all the way back. And then when she's 9 months pregnant, we're going to go to Bethlehem. And again, she has to start walking or riding a donkey, but that's even worse. Riding a donkey is worse. I've done that in Israel before. They are nasty, evil beasts. And she's now going to go all the way back another 90 miles to Bethlehem. And after that, 250 miles to Egypt. Another 250 miles back and 90 miles back up to Nazareth. If Mary was anything, she was a tough little Jewish girl. But we don't think of her that way. We only see her dressed like Our Lady of Fatima or Our Lady of Guadalupe, the Queen of Heaven. And those are all true images of Mary, because those are all things she is. And artists try to portray the inner qualities of things, not just what you see with your eyes outwardly. So they portray Mary so beautiful, like she just came out of the beauty parlor with her fingers done in her hairs. But the real Mary lived in a real rustic, rugged place, a cave with no running water, no toilets, nothing. This is how Mary. So we're going to do Mary, the real girl, and Mary, the woman of mystery. And along the way, we're going to defend all the Marian dogmas on location where she was at that point in time. So when she was born in Jerusalem, we're going to talk not only about her birth, but about the Immaculate Conception. And what does that mean? When we get to when we get to the end of the story, we're going to have to talk about the assumption into heaven and the queenship of Mary and what all of that means. So we're going to do it geographically. We're going to go through her life at each point. And I'm also going to point out to everybody, we have the devotion called the Seven Dolorosas, the Seven Sorrows of Mary. Oh, she had a lot more sorrows than that. We don't even realize. And I'm going to tell some of those other sorrows that she had, that she just quietly bore, that none of us even realize until you put yourself in her little sandals and walk the paths of Israel with her. Then you'll realize that she had a lot more sorrows and joys than we realize. So it's really, for me, it's a fun talk. I've been to the Holy Land over 180 times. I've been to Nazareth probably almost all of those times. I made a whole movie on Mary, the Mother of God, where I on location, I followed her. So my wife and I, we feel like we know her, not just through prayer and through the doctrines of the church, but in a different way, having walked her footprints all the way through the land of Israel, all the way into Turkey too, because she was in Ephesus with John towards the end of her life. And then we even go out to the Greek island of Patmos, is where we're going to end the talk on Mary, because it was from there on an island at the top of the mountain of Patmos where John looked up into heaven and he saw her as the queen of heaven with the 12 stars on her head. And that all took place on a Greek island. And that's where we're going to end our talk on Mary.
Steve Ray with us, and he's coming to our area virtually through our online Catholic education retreat, July 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th. It's 4 full days. We'll start in the morning about 8:30, 8:45. Steve will actually kick it off Monday and Tuesday at 9 a.m. We have a full schedule online that you can check out when you sign up for your free tickets. And so we're really excited about this. Steve, we're excited that you're coming. And the Eucharist, our Blessed Mother, those are the two pillars of the Catholic Church, really, when we start to have a grasp of the beautiful mystery and the love of Christ through Our Lady and through his body, blood, soul, and divinity. It's just beautiful. So I'm really grateful that you just tied everything into living, loving, defending the faith, and that's the theme of this year's online Catholic retreat. So folks, we want you to register. There's information that's going to be posted here where you can click online, get your free registration. Pray for Steve Ray and all of those pilgrims that will be traveling to the Holy Land. We pray very, very soon. And Steve, we pray for safe journeys for you. We're looking forward to virtually seeing you in July. And for folks who want to stay in touch with you about your pilgrimages, about your different books and resources, how do they find out about you online?
Everything is at Catholic Convert. It's like the hub of a wheel. You go to Catholic Convert, and then you go off to the pilgrimage site, to the store, to our resources page, all in my blog, all the fun stuff we do. CatholicConvert.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve. God bless you, your family, and we look forward to seeing you eye to eye, heart to heart in July. Have a
Thank you,
great
Dina
day.
Marie. I'll look forward to it as well.
God bless. Thanks.